All right, it's top of the morning, and really and truly, I need to shave my head. Get that taken care of today. It's not going to be nearly as hot outside, so I can go mow the grass. So, mow my head and mow the grass, not with the same type of equipment, but I can probably get both of those done. It's going to be like 64. Now, see, that's my type of weather, not 75 and 78. And no, I'm not. I'm not a fan of those. But anyhow, you don't care about the temperature and weather here, make sure you join the Discord, which is going to be down in the description box below. We talk about a lot of different things, and someone did ask a question. It's not really an Ask HershNoeie, but it's a question. I kind of hinted on this a long time ago, but I didn't really go into a lot of detail because I've heard of these two different parks along the waterfront. And so to give you a little bit of a perspective, well, I can't talk. Perspective. Tacoma has had this really rough image that it's trying to overcome, and it's slowly doing that. It takes a lot of money to change what has happened. This used to be a manufacturing hub for this part of the region, and so you had every type of company right there along the waterfront and the tide flats and things like that. And you had a smelter plant, you had mills, you have all these different things that were here, and some of those buildings only got knocked down fairly recently, right? Fairly recently. There are people who are older than I am, who are in their 50s, who can remember, and even younger, who can remember some of these buildings that were in bad condition along the waterfront in Tacoma. So when you are downtown by the art museum and stuff like that, you look out, you can just see a bunch of nasty, right? These old buildings that literally a century before were propelling the economy, right? But times changed and the industries changed and the city drastically changed. So a lot of these businesses were no longer needed, right? They were no longer needed. But they still sat there and were fallen in bad repair. If you look at a lot of Tacoma, you have a lot of warehouses, even right there in downtown. The Prairie district is a good example. A lot of old warehouses that were very vital and important. Excuse me, not that long ago, freight trains used to run through a portion of downtown, like right amongst all the buildings, because you literally had where back in the day, these warehouses, trains would come and offload supplies or, load supplies and continue on. That actually right now where present day University of Washington, Tacoma is right along the trail, which is now a trail, used to be rail tracks for heavy freight. That hasn't been that long ago that they got rid of that. So the city has been known as being this gritty industrial city. And when people looked at Seattle, they were like, this is Seattle doesn't have that. Their stuff is tucked away. It's kind of similar to other cities that you see. You don't have everything just right up front. Tacoma just built, here, let's just build this. We need this. So they just built. And so now the city is trying to change that. One of the things that we have a lot of for a city of its size are parks. The city of Tacoma has went through and slowly kept its head down. And Metro Parks is probably one of the best park systems that I've in any city I've ever lived in. I can't say in the country, I don't know. But of any city I've ever lived in, Metro Parks is by far better. Okay. And I've lived in some big cities and smaller cities, but Metro Parks Tacoma. So our park system is better than that of Seattle, in my opinion, by far. And so there are two projects that were to address where these buildings and things used to be, because the city wants to take what was bad and turn it into something good so that these locations that are there are no longer just sitting vacant, or the lot just sitting vacant. They got rid of all the buildings and they cleaned up everything. Now it's time to really add to it. And the city was going to add 2 more parks. They literally try to fit parks in wherever they can. Now, these are kind of like, one of them is like a pocket park. Someone asked me, about the Melanie Dressel Park. Is that still going on? Right? Melanie Dressel is no longer alive, but she played a huge part in Tacoma's history. Right? She only died, I think, in 2017. But a big part in Tacoma. And so they wanted to name a park after her downtown. Both of these are along the waterfront right there in downtown. Now, one of them, which is basically on hold, because someone said, is that one park still continuing, the Dressel Park? And the answer to that is yes, it is continuing. But there's a reason why there's a slowdown. Now, one of them is called Waterway Park. And Waterway Park is mainly going to be a park that's going to have like a building that holds a lot of human-powered boats. So paddle boarding, canoes, kayaks, that type of thing, right? And they're wanting this park because of the simple fact that we're a water city, like a lot of cities here are. So a lot of these cities, from Sammamish to others, have these row groups, these row companies, if you will, these row teams. And they have many of them, a lot of them. And so they need a place to store their stuff. Right now, they can store it anywhere, but the closer to water, the better. And so this was going to be a park that's designed mainly to handle that. It's important because this particular park would literally add more activity down on the waterfront, which really doesn't have as much activity as you would think, right? But that particular park itself, which is just called Waterway Park, is on hold. And the reason why it's on hold is funding. And so I'm going to first talk about that one and kind of, I've already told you what it kind of entails. I mean, they show images of it. If you look at downtown, there is downtown and you have the Washington History Museum, State History Museum right here. Across that little bit of water, there's a piece of land right by the bridge. I forget the name of the bridge, but it's the bridge that we take to go to Point Defiance. Let me look up the bridge. Hold on. And so right there is where they're going to put Waterway Park, right? Let me zoom in. Hold on a second. It's early in the morning. I've only had just this one cup of coffee. So I'm not really with it. So hold on. Let me hit this real quick and then we'll get the name out of the way. Because some people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what? Where? Huh? So it's good to get the correct nameage. Here it is, right here. What's the name of that thing? Okay, simple. It's the East 21st Street Bridge, right? It's a really nice, modern bridge, okay? And what they're going to do, and you can see it here, right? They've even got it labeled Waterway Park, but it doesn't exist yet. They're just saying this is what's going to happen. And to be honest with you, there's already from an aerial view, it's not the most attractive, right? Because from an aerial view, you see, a company that's a scaffolding company, and, they have like pallets and bricks and trucks and stuff, but there's a little piece of land right there. Excuse me. It even has a dock and everything, a little dock. And that's where they're going to put the Waterway Park, right? So if you're standing on one side of not on 705, I-705 is running right in front of that. But if you're standing like, let's say, I don't know, the new hotel downtown, and you're looking across, you could see it. If you're over there by the Henry Apartments, which is an apartment building mid-rise, you can look straight down and see it with no problem. You'll be able to see it pretty easily, right? So that particular park is on hold because of funding. The funding that they're getting is from the Port of Tacoma, Metro Parks Tacoma, and the Foss Waterway Development Authority. That's the only three sources of funding that they're going to be getting. Now, the Melanie Dressel Park, let's cover the funding on that first, is getting a little bit more money, but it's not on hold, but there are certain things that have to happen before they can start construction. It should have been completed by now, right? But the sickness happened. So when you look at 2020, it was kind of just shot, right? It was just shot. And then 2021, everything is held behind. So if you look at it, Melanie Park, the Foss Waterway Development Authority is paying for that. Metro Parks Tacoma, the city of Tacoma, Pierce County, and the state of Washington. They have 5 funding sources versus 3. So with Melanie Park, it's on a 3/4 of an acre, and it is going to be developed first. Okay, it's going to be developed first. But here are the things, because this is basically a more of a children's type of thing, right? So what's going to happen? Because she was really instrumental in children and stuff like that, right? So it's going to have a, let's see, it's going to have what's called a play mound, right? It's going to have a tower bridge. So you're going to see this kind of rust-looking tower. The city tries to pay homage to its industrial past. So you'll see a lot of things that they throw in there that kind of hint back to the past. Like there's an old crane that they just erected in one of the parks here just recently, right? And it was restored. They have a restroom and shower building. They have, like I said, a play mound. They have the esplanade. They have an overlook, which will be there, picnic area, and then, of course, a seating area, right? Which are just benches. Now, it's not really that much of a park. It's not that big. It wouldn't cost that much to build, but they want to get this thing constructed before, and imagine you have 5 funding sources. It wouldn't cost much to do this, right? But they're wanting to get this done before the other one. Now, where is it that I had why it's on hold? Where is that? It's not on hold, by the way. So I don't want you to think that that's the case. It's not technically on hold, but there's certain things they have to do. I think it has to deal with the soil, which is not a shock. I just lost it. I closed it out. But they're showing this lady who used to be the CEO of Columbia Bank and all of that, right? Let's see. Yeah, so the timeline, they have already been planning this since 2014. And of course, anytime you have a city, the city involved or government involved, it takes a long time for things to get done. I'm sorry, it just does. Let me see exactly what happens. Okay, here it is. So, she passed away. Yeah, so it should have been completed in 2020. They're going to turn it into a children's park. Let's see, what is the problem? I can't find it now, but there is something that needed to be done first before this project could actually move forward. And I believe it is due to the soil. Because keep in mind, there's a lot of soil contamination and things like that. But I can't seem to find it now as to what the holdup is. One of the holdups, obviously, there's 2. One is the funding. They want to make sure they get all that in, all their ducks in a row. Due to COVID, the city and the state and everybody else is not getting the funding that they normally would get because people haven't been working, so they're not getting the tax money that they were supposed to get. And number two, COVID held up the soil treatment of the area because they have to go in and actually treat this area. And so that is part of it. And, you know, do a couple other things, move some things around. So that's part of it. To answer the person's question, is it still continuing? Yes, it is. It's more delayed than anything. The other project's on hold, not saying that it won't get completed. There's nothing anywhere that says that that's not going to happen, or it's not going to be, the Waterway Park is not going to be done. It will be. But as far as the Melanie Dressel Park, it's just a wait and see type of game at this point, only because of the sickness. Now you have two parks which are going to be right downtown. One's going to be, so if you look at downtown Tacoma, this is a good example, my little paper clip or my little chip bag clip. On this side is downtown, right? And then there's like this little U shape and all this is water. Over here is where you start to go into the tide flats. Right over here is where you're going to have the Waterway Park. Right over here on this side of downtown is where you're going to have the Melanie Dressel Park. Both are highly needed. The more parks we can get here, the better. Both of these are contributing to the younger folks, which is good. Tacoma really wants to encourage more younger people and families to be out and about. If you look at Ruston, for example, Ruston is great because you have cool shopping and stuff like that, don't get me wrong. But one of the big activities that you see going to Ruston is people walking along the side of this, I forget the name of the path, but they're walking along that, and hold on, let me just get it so I can have a name. I'd rather have a name of something instead of saying, well, they're just walking along. What is there a name for the path? Because it's along Ruston Way. Does anybody know if there's a name? I don't think that there's even a name for it. Right? Because I know downtown, and actually what shocked me about downtown, I didn't even notice this, but downtown we have, and I had mentioned to you that we also have at the university, there used to be a train that went through there, and you could still see, images of it, right? But they turned that into a trail. And there used to be, along this trail, let me get the name. Hold on. We're going to drop this pen real quick so I can get the name of it. Okay, Art Museum, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, Prairie Line Trail. Okay, the Prairie Line Trail. And so that's running through University of Washington, I assume, along Ruston Way. That's what that's called too. I don't know. But they've completely changed that area. I was driving last night and I looked over there and they've completely changed that area. Way different than what it was. They've been quietly working on that. But my point is that when you go over to Ruston, some of the big pieces of going to Ruston is not so much the shopping, which is a good component to that. It's the ability to go and actually exercise. You have people who run, walk, or jog along this entire trail. And then once you get over into Ruston, you have the Dunes Peninsula, which to me is really one of the best parks in this region, in my opinion, right? And then you have the Chutes and Ladders is what they call it, or Chutes and Ladders, I'm sorry. You have the Chutes and Ladders, which is also pretty cool because it's basically going down an incline, or no, a decline. Yeah, going down a decline. Yeah, because the incline's going up. You're going down a decline or an incline, whichever way you want to see it. And there's all these little bitty slides going way down the hillside, right? And so the girls love it. We haven't been there. Sorry. We haven't actually been there in a bit. When we took Noelle's sister to this area, the girls wanted to go to it. But again, I mean, we're in the middle of COVID, and it's not like I want to necessarily, you know, risk ourselves. But you have the stairs and the slides. You also have a bridge that can connect you from all of these trails over into Point Defiance Park. And there you can go to many different things, from like the zoo to an aquarium area to just the park trails itself. So my point is that this is just a huge recreational area, right? When you look at Point Defiance, huge recreational area. They're trying to make downtown the same way. And they're trying to get it to where parents who may be shopping downtown or whatever they're doing are going to spend more time downtown. Downtown used to be known for Wright Park, which is a big, huge park. It still is. But there's been so much emphasis put on Point Ruston that a lot of folks and a lot of people are just going there. But having these two types of parks downtown is starting to tell people, look, definitely go to Point Ruston, but there's places here. If you hear chickens, we have these baby chicks, and they're so annoying, and I can't wait for them to be big enough to be gone out of the man cave. But anyway, these parks are basically saying to parents, like, hey, this is also a place where you can come and enjoy yourself with your kids. Spend time downtown. And so I see that these two projects are going to really add to the park system overall, which is pretty robust for a city of its size. And that's one of the things that I talk about quality of life. When people say, where should I live? I'll tell them in Tacoma, you'll have a great quality of life. Are there homelessness issues? Yes. Are there, some crime issues going on? Yes. Are there all these other things that are going on? Yes. It's a city. No question. No question. Right? I drove through an area downtown that I haven't been to in a while, and because they have been working on the light rail system and they closed down a part of the road where they're putting the maintenance facility, you don't have as much traffic going through there. And because of that, there has been this homeless encampment that is set up along this area that normally that wasn't the case. And it is massive. And you see a mountain of trash, which wasn't there, a year ago. But it's just been really, really bad. Unfortunately, you see a lot of that in Seattle. You see a lot of that in Tacoma. You see a lot of that in Olympia. I don't know about Bellevue, but I would imagine maybe. Bellevue, they try to make sure any sort of homelessness is, they don't want you to see it, but it's there, right? It's definitely there. Here, it's more in your face. When I talk about, in Everett, all of those places, Everett, Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, it's more in your face. And so people say, oh, it's horrible. But these other places, it's there. It's just the police do a good job of making sure they push people out so you can't see it. So people are down in the ditch, still living, but barely, right? But the quality of life here in Tacoma is really, really good for the vast majority of people. And having these parks just amplify that quite a bit. We have more parks here that are geared towards families than a lot of other places here. I'm not going to say we have more, but we have a lot of them that really gear towards getting family and people out and about and just really interested in the city. But anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you join the Discord, which is going to be down in the description box below. Make sure you comment, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.